Hello, hello, good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody. So I decided to bring on my beautiful friend Carol CC Miller today because there she is. Hello, Carol. Yay. Yes, she is I'm just gonna let her describe what she is. She is an amazing human being, and I'll just let her describe what she does. And what's really cool is she has a global hug weekend coming up, and which is so exciting. So I just wanted to come on and talk to her about that, what inspired her for that, and then what she does too, because she does amazing stuff. One of the most positive people I have ever met in my life. So there we go.
Good morning. Thanks, Shauna, for having me. So, I am Carol C.C. Miller, the Positive Life Strategist, Peace Activator, and Global Hugger. And before we talk about the hugs, I kind of want to talk about why I say I'm a peace activator. I am definitely a peace activist, but my work in my coaching is to activate the peace within you. So that is where it's different than I definitely get involved in global issues of activism, but it's really about activating inside of you the peace, the kindness, the compassion, and love within you to create the world that you want to live in. So that
I
is
love
that.
that.
Yeah. And then the hugs movement, I started doing free hugs in 2008. The actual movement started in 2004 and became big in 2006 because of a YouTube video. And when I saw that video, I was absolutely not a hugger at the time. I'd hug my family and things like that, but I was certainly not the person you would meet and immediately embrace. But I watched that video so many times, and it just felt like it was aligned to my mission with Positive Focus, and that was to help people feel seen and heard, that I would try it. So I tried it in January of 2008 in Chicago, which makes no sense why somebody would be hugging in Chicago at the lakefront in the winter. And I was terrified, but the few hugs that we did get, because I had a few friends join me, I saw the impact it would have on people, and that it really was a way to see people and to acknowledge people just for being. So my work really changed a lot. Like, I started coaching before 2008, but it really has changed my life completely in the trajectory of my work. And it's about the fact that I believe that when people feel seen and heard in this world, they are far less likely to harm themselves and other people. So it really became one of my biggest passions is my hugs movement. And then, of course, I do individual coaching with people as well, and some group coaching.
I love that when people are seen and heard because I feel like a lot of times, you can see that when people aren't seen and heard,
Yeah.
right? And it's just that hug, like the effect that a hug can have. Like, what are some of the feelings that you've gotten, like when you've experienced those hugs that you give? Like, is there like a
Sure.
hug?
Oh, there's several. And I think, like I say, it's the heightened celebrations and lessen sorrow. So I've hugged people who are celebrating their birthdays or anniversaries or a new job. And I love those hugs. But my favorite hugs are the ones who are people who are in sorrow. I had a elderly woman walk up to me. She's kind of crunched over a little bit, and she was crying. And she said her husband had just passed away 2 weeks prior and how she missed his hug. So I teared up with her and was hugging her while she was missing her husband. I
Oh,
have I've done hugs. The place we hug in Chicago is a public downtown park. So there's also protesters in that area as well. And there was one day that they were protesting police brutality, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people walking by with arms up, I can't breathe. And there were dozens and dozens of officers making sure that it was a peaceful moment. And as the marchers walked by, it was so surreal because they were chanting, and yet it was so quiet. Like, it was just I can't even explain the energy of the day. But after they left, three officers walked through the line and got hugs from us and thanked us for being there.
oh wow, that's
And
powerful.
and it's rare that, like, they might smile. I mean, there are some fairly arrogant officers who would never do it. Like, they show their arrogance as they walk by, but you could tell that they really needed to be seen, and not seen in the whole of police violence, but to be seen as an individual person in that moment. So it was a really powerful moment as well. And then one of my global, I've gotten a lot of global hug stories too, but one of my favorites there is from some young girls. I don't know their age, but they look to be teenagers, maybe early 20s. My first global hug event, and they signed up from Mexico City. And then they emailed me afterwards apologizing. They said they stood out there for 90 minutes, but nobody hugged them, and that their city is very violent. And so I'm like, you absolutely participated, because maybe those people aren't ready to be hugged today. But even seeing you out there, it's really about putting that energy out. I stand on a very popular corner in Chicago. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people walk by me in that 90 minutes I'm out there. I might some days, well, this is pre-COVID. I would get a lot of hugs pre-COVID, but there'd be days that I would get 125 hugs in that 90 minutes. There'd be days I'd get 60. I never figured out why. Although I would say if it was a holiday weekend, I tended to get more hugs from holiday, that energy. But in my 100 hugs, probably 1,000 people walked by me. So it was still not as many. In that 1,000 people, many of them would smile because I would say, have a great day. Many of them would thank me for being there. And some people would look away because that made them uncomfortable. So it really is about, who do you want to be and how do you want to show up in the world? What kind of energy do you want to share? I was out there to share hugs, to share. So a lot of it was even, and it still is, a lot of it's eye contact with people and smiling. So I have eye contact and smiling far more than the hugs that I get, but the hugs are really powerful.
Yeah, well, and I feel like too, like when you smile, like I feel like that can be like a form of a hug too. When we smile and we acknowledge somebody, right? I don't know what you think about that. Yeah.
And it's also, it's truly a good people watching experience, because I have learned that I cannot tell who's going to get a hug. There will be people with love shirts and peace shirts, and they're going to come get a hug, and they walk by. And then there will be the burliest biker dude looking man walk, and he's the one who comes up for a hug. So I really have no way to tell. People will judge hugs because people like to make judgments on things. And so they'll say the right way to hug is heart to heart. Well, that is a way to hug. But for me, there is not a wrong way. The people who come in for the bear hugs, they haven't had to leave their comfort zone. They love hugging, and so they come in and give you a big squeeze bear hug. Love it. But it's the people who you could see it in their eyes. They're like, should I, shouldn't I don't know if I should. And they come in for the hug, and they maybe just barely touch you because it's way out of their comfort zone. But it's probably had a bigger impact on them than it did the person who is the hugger. Each person, I love that they came in for the hug, but it's the people that really have stepped out of their comfort zone that I think has the biggest impact.
I love that. And so have you seen, it made me think of a question. Have you seen people, and I love people stepping out of their comfort zone. I think it's so awesome. Have you seen people, like say the prior year you saw somebody walk by and they didn't give a hug, and then maybe the next year they came back and they shared with you like a story about why, now they want to do it. Like, have you had an experience like that with somebody?
I haven't personally had that experience, but I have had that experience through Global Hugs. And I've had received an email from someone, but the Global Hug experience was the very first year we had people sign up from Pakistan. And when he sent me his hug pictures, in his text part of it, he's like, these aren't going to look like your normal hug pictures. And again, this was my first year, so I had not experienced a lot of hugs by this point. And I'm like, it's a hug. How can it not look like a hug? And so I opened the pictures, and it was just like I had described before. They kind of had their hands on their shoulder. They were standing a little closer to each other than maybe they wouldn't be if they weren't hugging. And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, now I understand what he means by the fact that this isn't going to look like a normal hug picture. And then the next year they joined us again, and they were more embracing. So it was more about the comfort of it. And, different places in the world are more accepting of hugs, and some places are very standoffish to it. But I do, and even in Chicago, where we have pretty much every type of person on this planet there, to know of who, like my friend Tony's, who usually joins me. And some women in hijabs, like they can hug me, but they can't hug him. And so it's really about knowing, being open. And that again goes back to the fact that it's important to realize when you're offering these hugs, it is an offering. It is not a demand. You cannot make people hug you. Well, you can, but it's that becomes assault more than anything.
Exactly.
So it really is about allowing them to come in and to hold your own space. When I have young people with me hugging, I make sure, that they are comfortable, and that I tell everyone who joins me, if you feel uncomfortable with somebody who's coming in for a hug, you may say no. You do not have to hug them just because you have that free hug sign. I have only turned down one hug in the 12 years that I've been hugging, and I was glad I did.
There you go. Yeah, you have to trust that guidance, right? And so when you go out and you do your hugs, like it's this weekend. What are the dates again of the hugs?
I usually do global hugs in May, but because of COVID, we've missed 2020 and 2021. In 2022 in May, I'm like, I think it's still too early, and we're still dealing with COVID, so I don't want to pretend it's completely gone either. But I figured now there's a better chance of doing it. So it's September 9th through the 11th. It's wherever you're located. You can do it I encourage you to find a public place. And the only reason I say a public place, and I'm speaking more from the States, because if you're in other parts of the world, there's different laws. I had somebody sign up from Singapore years ago, and she signed up very close to the date. And so she told me I did not get a permit for this, so I could possibly be arrested. I'm like, nope, no. We're not going to have you arrested for giving hugs. So I encouraged her, I'm like, please don't do it if you're worried about getting arrested. And she did it where she kind of hid the sign and gave hugs and had a great time. But in the US, most likely, if you're in private property, you're going to be asked to leave. If I stand in an area in Chicago, big buildings, if I'm on somebody's private property, I have been asked to leave before. But so find a public space, a space that has people walking by to be able to offer hugs. Again, my location has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I'm in Chicago, so your place may have 20 people or 40 people to offer. So it's really about that. Have a free hug sign. I should have had one of my signs here to show you. And then just stand there. Some people that come with me say free hugs. I say free hugs sometimes. Sometimes I just stand there. I usually say have a great day or happy Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And it really is about putting out that energy that you want to live in. So it's eye contact, it's smiling, it's saying a kind word to people, it's offering a hug. It varies each time. Sometimes now, since COVID, I've done it twice. First time with a mask on, second time a couple months ago without a mask. And we haven't gotten as many hugs, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
With people, getting COVID still here, and people getting used to that again. But it really is, for me, is to show up as who I want to be and how I want to be in the world.
I love that. Well, and I think like physical touch is so important, right? That physical touch, and it helps, because isolation, can be so hard, and people don't have like somebody to give them a hug. Like that physical touch is so important for our bodies, and it's so important. So,
well, and I think it's good to remember too, because with kids, so like I will, for kids, I'll offer a fist bump or a high five. And if they want the hug, then that's absolutely fine. But I have found many parents will kind of push their kids to get a hug, and they don't even get one. So I'm like, no. It's not about making your child hug me. If they want to, fantastic. Baby hugs are the best. But it is about letting them, their comfort zone. So a lot of times, they're like, their parents will say, want a hug, and they'll shy off. But they love the high five or the fist bump. So it really is about meeting people where they are and not trying to make them to be where you are.
Yeah, that's so huge. I think that's so important, because I think so many times we're like, oh, just come on. And it's like, wait, respect and meet people where they are, right? Honor where people are is what I mean. Honor where people are.
Yeah,
Right?
and we did have a woman, and I hadn't thought of it this way before, but I had already been doing it intuitively, I guess, myself. Is when somebody comes in for a hug, I match their hug. So if they give me a bear hug, I will hug them tight. If they barely touch me, I kind of barely touch them. It's more gentle hug. And I hadn't even thought about it, but one woman walked through our line several years ago, and I'm glad she did, because some of my guy huggers don't. They just give the type of hugs that they like. And she's like, I've got a bad back. Please be gentle. So it really is so that's why I match where they're coming from. If they're able to give me the tighter hug, I will give them a tighter hug. So it's about, again, matching where they're at.
I love that. That's so important. I feel like that could be carried over into all areas of life too, of like learning to match people more where they're at. I feel like that's so important. Now, so when you do these hugs, like how many do you go out like each day that you do it on the weekend, and how many people do you have with you? And then how long do you stay out there? Like how?
So in the second year we did it, so again, the Global Hugs is once a year for a weekend. The second year we did it, I was going to hug for 12 hours, but the park closed. So I hugged for 11 hours. Would not recommend that. That was a long day. I usually do it an hour, hour and a half, depends on if we're getting a lot of traction, we may stay for the hour and a half. If it's a really cold, snowy day, we may be out there for 20 minutes. So it really depends on that. I have hugged by myself. The originator, Juan Man, I shouldn't say always, when he started it, it was him doing it himself. So I really think it's about the energy you put out there. When I have Tony, we get hugs. When we have 3 or 4 people, we tend to get more hugs than when it's just me. And I know it's my own energy that I'm like more nervous about it by myself, where other people are fine doing it by themselves. So I think you need to look into what your comfort level is. I have found over the 12 years of hugging that we do get more hugs when it's like 3 or more people. On Global Hugs, we've had up to, like, I think early on, we probably had close to 20 people. And so sometimes it can get overwhelming too. So I'm like, I have to remind people, they need to come to you. You cannot go to them. If you get an enthusiastic hugger who loves hugs, they think everybody loves hugs. And some people may have had trauma, that isn't okay for them. So it is about matching them to me.
Exactly, right? And I love that. And I'm just getting the link because I want to share, because there's still time. Like, even though it's this weekend, like, people can still sign up, right? Like,
absolutely. And what I haven't discussed is, because again, when I started, I was not a hugger. I chose to try it anyway, and it really has changed my life. But if you're not ready to step out of your comfort zone, then sign up, and there's a space on it where you're just doing a private event. Hug your pets if they like hugs. Hug yourself. Send me a selfie of you just giving yourself a big hug, and then just let me know where you're hugging, because it'll be added into the community. The entire point is just to love up this beautiful and messy world and spread some love, one hug at a time.
I love that. I love one hug at a time. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, so where do you post these pictures? Is it on like your website or your Facebook?
I'll be posting them on the Positive Focus Facebook, and then my personal Facebook.
That's awesome. So that's your main page, right? Your Positive Focus page. That's awesome. And if anybody wants more positivity, I'm telling you, like, Carol is like my role model for all the amazing stuff that she posts. She posts such good stuff. So I can't recommend following her enough. Now speaking of hugs with with pets, I know my Nugget dog loves hugs, and she gives me like hugs every day. Have you ever had like an animal come in line for a hug with their people? Like,
absolutely. And there was a woman, and actually her dog just passed away this last year, but she joined us. Why can't I think of her dog's name? It was a golden retriever, and she joined the Portland hug team. And so the dog had a scarf on that said free hugs, and people loved. I wish I could think of the dog's name, but she shared a lot on Instagram about her dog, so she joined with that. Then I had other people who would bring their dogs out too. It's really, again, is your dog friendly to other people, and is that a good experience? When I had Mika, that would not have been a good experience for her. She would have been like, Mom, why are you making me do this?
Right? She's been like, no, no, no. So how many people, like, I hope that more people sign up because even, like you could do it for an hour on one of these days this weekend, right? You don't have to do it on each day. You could just do it for an hour. And how awesome would it be to share some love? I mean, how many places do you have signed up so far?
Yeah, and so right now, and this has been true throughout all of the time I've done it, some people will sign up and then they still don't do it for whatever reason, and that's okay too. It happens. COVID, life happens. But right now we have huggers on 3 continents, 6 countries, and 17 states, and I have had huggers overall. I'm trying to look here on 6 continents. Nobody in Antarctica yet.
There will be, though. I have a feeling soon.
And then 45 countries and 32 US states, and Desmond Tutu joined twice as well.
Whoa, how amazing is that? Wow. That's cool. So you reached out to him.
Yes, the first year, I still email different people to invite them in, but the first year I emailed hundreds and hundreds of people. It was just info to different organizations and people that I thought would align to it. And his secretary responded. So he did it 2 years, and then he retired from, they say he retired from public service, but he was still very, very active until he passed away last year.
Wow, how awesome that he was a part of it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, I mean, I encourage people to sign up. And then where do they share the pictures with you? Like, once they sign up, do they email you or just tag you on Instagram or Facebook or?
Either way, I mean, email's probably the easiest, so I make sure that I get them. But yes, you can absolutely tag me. I do have a Global Free Hug. It's a public group on Facebook, so you can post them in there, which I would see. If you share them just through Positive Focus, I don't always see what people are sharing there. So I'd encourage you to email it to me. And then, of course, when you sign up, you will get my email address on how to respond.
That's awesome. And now your Global Hug page, what page is that on Facebook? I didn't know about that one.
So I will check in. Let me check because I think it's called Global Free Hugs, but it might just be called Global Hugs. So
right, it's hard to keep track of all that, right? When we manage all that, it's like, wait, what is that called?
Exactly.
I don't know.
It is Global Free Hugs. So I'm like,
Global Free Hugs. That's awesome. And I put in the link too. So where people can sign up, I put that link in there where people can sign up to be a global hugger. I mean, even if you just do it with your pets, that's what I signed up for this year. Is I'm gonna, maybe some people I know that I go out and I give hugs to, over the weekend that I see. I'll share pictures of that and share pictures of hugging with my fur babies that I have. Like, it's all those things that can make a difference. So yeah. So hey Amy. So what we're talking about right now is we're talking about my dear friend Carol. She has her global hug weekend this weekend. So we're talking about that because I feel like hugs are so important and also too, it's like the more positivity that we have in our life, our animals pick up on that. So if we're a part of that, that hug experience too, like when we amplify that comes home and carries over to everyone in our life, including our pets, right? Including our pets. But if you're looking for a pet chat after this, go to Positive Focus or Embrace Your Life, which is a Facebook group, and I will be having a chat with Carol about pets after this at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're interested, and her pages are amazing too, by the way. So there you go. So just a side note. Just a side note. Yeah, I'm so glad that you can come on with me and talk about this. I just thought it would be so fun. I was like, wait a minute, I need to share about this because this is just such a cool thing. And I feel like that little difference that we can make for people is so important, right? So what's kind of one final thing that you'd love to share with people about this, or, any like wisdom about hugs or anything like that you want to share?
I think it's just the importance of it is the connection, and the connection. I think sometimes we think that the connection has to be deep and long, and that we know somebody for a very long time. But eye contact, smiling, saying a kind word, just seeing someone else, you have no idea. I suspect everybody has had an experience where a stranger smiled at them, and it just changed their mood. So you have no idea how your have a great day or smiling might be the thing that that person needed at that moment to continue on. There is a lot of people suffering right now in the world, and there are certainly a lot of people celebrating too. But it's about seeing people, and I'm a big believer, again, that I said earlier, that when you feel seen and heard, you're less likely to harm yourself and others. And even the people that are doing harm, to know that they have a backstory, not okay with what their behavior is, but to know that if you knew their backstory that brought them to that point, you could have compassion for them. Still consequences, but you can have compassion instead of seeing people as just strictly monsters, to know that that backstory, perhaps one of my favorite people, Denise Lynn, has even said, like, if I shared their history, I might do exactly what they're doing right now. So it's about bringing some compassion to the world too, by knowing that I'm seeing the person as a person and knowing that they're worthy to be here.
Exactly right. Seeing them for who they are. And sometimes we don't always see people, by their outer, appearance of who we think they are. It's like
Right.
seeing everybody for who they really are, and just, yeah, and not judging, this or that, like you're saying. That's so important because you don't know. Everybody has their own story, right?
Yeah. And again, it's not accepting of bad behavior or
Yeah.
harming people, but it is about knowing most likely, again, I'm not an absolutist. So there may be a few people out there who are doing horrible things and have zero reason behind them to do it. But most people, their backstory is what created where they're at. So it's, and some people's horrible backstory creates them to be a kinder person, and they want that to be the experience. But it's about finding some compassion and knowing that there are still consequences to deal with, but you don't have to make them into a monster. I think for me, a lot of people want to label people as monsters because then they're not human anymore. But it's humans that are doing these horrific things to each other and to themselves. So seeing them as a person, hoping that they get the help that they need, dealing with the consequences that they have brought upon themselves. But it's just to be a little kinder out there.
Exactly. And spread kindness everywhere because you don't know. Like, you could come across somebody that you think is so happy, but maybe they're not, like you could change, really propel and impact somebody's day in a positive way just by smiling at them, right?
I would say I don't see it daily, but I certainly see it weekly, of people talking about a loved one who has committed suicide and that they thought that they were incredibly happy people. So you don't know what people are dealing with. So just have some compassion and kindness.
Yeah, you don't know. One of my dear friends, he actually committed suicide in December, and he was the last person that I thought would ever do that.
Yeah.
So you don't know, you don't know. So yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you for being who you are, Carol. You are amazing. And then you go live on your Facebook page, your Positive Focus page, and your Embrace Your Life Facebook community every week, right? Don't
Yeah, I
you?
go twice, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30 Central Time, so 9:30 Pacific Time.
Cool. So if you're looking for more positivity, definitely check Carol out. And then sign up to be a global hugger too, just like to spread that kindness, right? Because even if you just do it in the comfort of your own home and with people that you're still amplifying and spreading that, kindness and putting that, energy out there for more love to be amplified into the world. And how beautiful is that? And I put the link to sign up too.
Yeah, if you want, I encourage people, if you want more kindness in the world, be kinder in the world. If you want more love in the world, be more loving in your world. So it's really about, if you want more compassion, start with you. If you want more peace, how are you bringing it into the world? If you're focused on the non-peaceful things, and I'm not saying to pretend that there isn't bad things going on in the world, because there is, but it's where are you placing your focus? Who do you want to be and how do you want to show up?
Yes, I love that. Who do you want to be and how do you want to show up? I feel like that is like a perfect note to end on because that's That's powerful right there. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Carol, for coming on with me. You are amazing. And then I will see you in a minute because now I'm going to go on Carol's page. So check us out there. It'll be more fun to come. So I hope you all have a fantastic day. And thanks so much, Carol. See you soon.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Bye.